Hello and welcome to the Chatterbox Letters podcast. I have a live show that I would like to present to everyone watching, and I have questions I have to ask according to my Verbal Letters podcast. My first question is this: do you think the Verbal Letters series would be better than writing a letter and sending it to my podcast? Okay, here is my answer. Yes, my verbal letter series would be much better than writing the letter. You want to say it verbally instead of writing the letter. I believe some of the people would jump to the fact of writing a letter to my podcast. Too much work, and it's too much, really too much time consuming writing a letter. Why not verbalize your letters instead? Number 2, what do I think of the topics for my first season episode of the Chatterbox Letters podcast? Here is my answer. Since I am the author of all these topics, I think my topics are pretty much straightforward questions to the viewer. I don't sugarcoat anything on my podcast. I think my topics as great beyond anything I imagine. So the topics that I create, I think they are excellent, they're good. And I would like, to ask those questions to anybody who wants to be part of my podcast. Okay, question 3. What will my first season premiere of the Chatterbox Letters podcast start? I don't have a definite starting date for my podcast, the first season premiere. It's whenever I get those that are interested in being part of my podcast. I will get those names of the people who are determined and interested to be a part, print their names on my ledger, emails, and numbers of topics they want to be part of. Yes, I give an option to pick topics, for people who would like to be part of my show. And as for the Chatterbox Letters podcast, I will start, but it's no specific date, as I said earlier, as to when my first season premiere will start. I will let everybody know. I will update everybody of when that will be. Question number 4. As of the date of the Chatterbox Letters podcast, what affect its status to start its first season premiere on time? My answer to this question is no. I don't think it would affect my status as a podcaster to start a video on time. The time will be mine since it's my video, in which I decide when to make it public. So as much as to go into my video to make a difference. Okay, I won't be able to start until I, get the topic out to the people who come in are interested in being part of my podcast. Then I will ask those questions, during for the topics. All right. Question number 5. Do I think that people in general would like to be a part of my podcast season premiere episodes? Sure, why not? There is many people out there who would enjoy volunteering their time to be a part of my podcast and make a difference for me and themselves. All right, Question number 6. How many topics will be part of season 1 premiere of the Chatterbox Letters podcast? Okay. For each episode, there are 10 topics for each episode. And that will be part of each episode that I do. There are 10 episodes total for the season. That's the reason why I have 10 topics for each episode. Question number 7. What do I call it? The verbal letters at the Chatterbox Letters podcast. Just like I said earlier, because instead of writing the letter to save the aggravation, I felt it was better for it to be transformed verbally to speak out about your letter, giving your letter a voice of the author behind the letter. See, that gives your letter a voice instead of writing it. You remember what I said? It's time consuming. And I feel verbally, your letters would be perfect. Number 8, question 8. Will there be a direct discussion about the verbal letters, each of the topics? You will be direct in discussion. Yes, of course, the answer. That's what a topic is based upon. That is having discussions, bringing understanding to the basics of the topic. Not having a discussion will decrease the understanding of the topic to focus upon. Questions can also be answered depending on the topic and what is asked. So those topics will bring questions. I truly believe that it will bring questions. Number 9. Would there be a scheduled events on producing the Chatterbox Letters into season 1 for the verbal letters? Okay, just like I said, here's the answer. For the Verbal Letters podcast, I will not schedule the events to the lack of participation. So I need a whole lot of participation. I need people, which are clients to me, to become part of my podcast. I need that. All right, last but not least, question number 10. Is it better to express your thoughts and concerns as part of my Verbal Letters podcast? Okay, here's my answer. Whenever you're thinking of feeling, the feelings that you have will make a difference to the topic in my live podcast. Everyone, I want you to like, share, subscribe to my podcast. Hit that notification button to know when I go live. Ring that bell for updates on my podcast. Support my podcast because the ticker speaks volumes. And as you can see down at the bottom, that little ticker, it's all the reason to support my podcast. The episodes of my podcast will make a difference to everyone. I feel that. So I like to thank everybody for tuning in. I would like to say God bless. And after every video I do, I will always give a warm thank you. Oh boy, I thank you very much. Thank you very much.